Good evening. My name is Liz Fuller, Senior Community Library Manager of the Brentwood Library. On behalf of the Contra Costa County Library System, I want to welcome you to tonight's forum. We have worked closely with the League of Women Voters, the County Elections Department, and CCTV to bring this program to our community. It will stream live on Facebook and will be available online after the program on the Library and County Elections Department websites, as well as the League's Voters Edge website. I do want to give a shout out. You may have gotten this in the mail recently. Your ballot, the award-winning photographer is here tonight behind the camera, Rich Hall, and featured on your ballot pamphlet is Patrick Reamer from Pleasant Hill doing story time there. So, credit for them. So please join me in welcoming our moderator for this evening, Ann Flynn from the League of Women Voters of the Diablo Valley, and the immediate past president of the League of Women Voters of Diablo Valley, and she's a former elected member of the Walnut Creek School Board and retired from the U.S. Department of State as a Foreign Service officer. Cool.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Liz. Our forum this evening is to present candidates running for the Liberty Union High School District. There are 3 open seats and there are 4 candidates, although one could not be with us this evening. The League is a nonpartisan organization that does not support or oppose any candidate. We are here tonight as part of our key mission to educate and inform voters. Just now, each candidate has pulled a number to determine opening speaking order. Closing statements will be made in the reverse order. During the question and answer portion, I will alternately call upon each candidate to avoid giving any candidate an advantage or a disadvantage. Each candidate will have an opportunity to have 2 rebuttals of 1 minute each to any question. To our audience here in the auditorium, remember, if you have a question you would like to ask all the candidates, please write it on a 3x5 card and hand it to a volunteer who will get it up to me. Questions will be screened to avoid duplicates. Each candidate will have 2 minutes or 1 minute to answer the question. Personal attacks are not permitted. Statements made about other candidates must be from the public record or will not be allowed. Each speaker will be timed, and we will give everyone a 15-second warning sign. If the timers in the front row could hold up the yellow card, that's what it looks like when you have 15 seconds left. And then when you have finished your time, you'll get a red card. And finish the sentence you're on, or just wind it up, and we won't be too rude to you, I hope. For the audience here, as this forum is being taped, it's particularly important that you turn off your cell phones now if you haven't yet done so. And also candidates. And please, no unauthorized recordings or videos. I want to remind you not to cheer or applaud any statement. Now we'll proceed with 2-minute opening statements, beginning with Eric Stonebarger.
Thank you very much, and thanks to the League of Women Voters for having us tonight. Thanks for the introduction, Liz, and congratulations to the library on the new City of Brentwood Library grand opening this last weekend. It was a well-deserved feat. My name's Eric Stonebarger. I am a father. I've been married to my wife, Jana, for 16 years. I have 4 kids, 14, 12, 10, and 8. Get to go to Guerin School, Edna Hill School, and Liberty High School as a freshman. My great-grandfather moved in this area in the 1920s. He was on the school board in the late 50s through the early 70s. I got the pleasure of serving with the Brentwood City Council for 10 years. I retired in 2016 and took a couple years off of politics and chose to get back in with throwing my hat in the ring for the Liberty Union High School District Board. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm a farmer, local farmer in town and out of town. And when we spent time with the city of Brentwood and I first got into politics, our primary goal was to try to make a better quality of life for the community. And that all of our decision-making process was around how to make a better life for the community and improve the quality of life. And I say we because most of my decisions are back and forth with my wife, and she molds a good portion of how I think and how we create our values and how we sustain our values and how we try to lead our children with our values. And so one of the themes or the important components of why I'm running for the school board is to try to improve this quality of life, try to improve this community, whether it's for the students or whether it's for the teachers or whether it's for the balance of the community that doesn't participate in the school. So that's my primary goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our second speaker tonight will be Roy Jageri.
You did very well.
Thank you.
Again, I'd like to, like Eric said, thank the Diablo Valley League of Women's Voter for having this opportunity to speak to everyone. And it's been a wonderful 8 years that I've been on the board. And it's been a privilege and an honor to serve the community, the staff, and the students, and the parents. During this time, I really feel that I've always made decisions from the board perspective that were best for the parents, students, and the community in regards to decisions that we've had to make these last 8 years. Some of the bigger issues that we've tackled this year is number one, we have to keep a balanced budget. I'm very proud of that fact, that we've always kept a balanced budget and been able to give our unions a raise. And I think that's important in a role of a board, is making sure that it's a balanced budget. The other thing is, as you well know, all in the crowd, the safety issue is the big one. The board has taken on a number of things with the safety. We've added training for our staff. We work very closely to Oakley and Brentwood Police. We've had training together. We have 5 at each site, comprehensive site. We have 5 individuals that we have on site just for the safety situation that we have. We also have an SRO at each of the sites for our students, making sure. This year also we've added some things. We wanted to look at each site in regards to facilities and how we can make them safer, and that's important. The $122 million bond, it was a real big plus for us. And of course, I'll let that go. I mean, I'll have to stop right there.
All right. Thank you. You'll have more time to talk later on. And our third candidate this evening is Pauline Rivera Allred.
Hi, thank you for those of you that are joining us. I know in our school district, we have a lot of the families, we're modified traditional, so that means this is our fall break. So I thank you for the ones that are here, including myself. And I just want to start with saying that this is my second term as a board member. I started in 2014, and I'm really excited to rerun just because the fact that 4 years ago I never knew what I would be getting into as far as learning new things about education. I actually work in special ed, and I work for another school district, which is our neighboring school, which is Brentwood Unified School District. And I've been there for 5 years at Guerin Elementary, and I really enjoy it. I think the fact that working in education really helps me understand where I'm at as far as a board member. I've learned, like I said 4 years ago, I feel as though that I'm just learning the tip of the iceberg as far as what I should learn and what I need to learn. The focus is students. It's about being a board, you're governing your whole entire district, which is 5 schools, which I really enjoy it. So I look forward to, if possible, to be reelected. And the fact that in California, there is about approximately 1,000 school districts and offices of education that are governed by more than 5,000 school board members. In California is the largest public school, which is really interesting for me in the school system in the nation, serving more than 6 million students. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And the fourth candidate who you'll see on your ballot is Brian Roger Lax, and he is not here this evening. So for the next 30 minutes or so, I'll ask questions. I'll do my best to ensure that each candidate answers an equal number of questions. And I want to remind the audience to please write down your questions on 3x5 cards, and we have a volunteer that will be walking around, pick them up, so just hold them up and someone will pick them up and get them up to me. So our first question goes to Roy Jageri. I know that you covered this in your opening statement, but let's hear a little bit more about what you think is the single most important challenge facing our schools, and how do you propose to address it?
Well, each school, excuse me, each school district's a little different. I think challenges for each school district obviously is different in the sense that where you're located and so on and so forth. I do believe that we are not funded enough at the state level, number one. I think we're one of the bottom states in funding, and I think that's really difficult. I think safety has become a big issue. A parent wants to make sure that their child or their student is going to school, that they feel safe, they're being well educated, and those are things that are extremely important, and I put those at the top, and of course there are other things that are certainly important.
Thank you. And next, Eric Stonebarger.
Same question.
Yes, please. What's the single most important challenge here in Brentwood?
I think it's tough to, like Roy said, it's tough to prioritize what the single most important challenge would be for a high school district with all three schools, comprehensive sites, having some different challenges. But in general, these kids are facing a tremendous amount of outside influences. So safety in a really broad sense. Traditionally, how we've thought about safety, and non-traditionally, how we've thought about safety. They have these little weapons in their hands all day long with these cell phones and these screens, and the amount of damage that they can do to themselves, and the amount of damage they can do to their future, and the amount of damage they can do to their peers. We have a responsibility to, one, educate them, right, to get ready from an academic standpoint, but two, we have a responsibility to teach them how to handle particular environments, and we have a real challenge as a society on how to do that effectively with these kids and these devices, which I consider as a weapon, and to keep them on the right track and get them to understand how sensitive those machines can be.
Thank you. And Pauline Allred?
Question, same
Yes,
question.
same question. What's the single most important challenge in Brentwood in the school?
You know, I would say, you can say one, but I think it's in general about education for one. It's about students feeling safe in their schools, but I think not only them, but having really good educators that we have in our school district. I have kids that are in our school district, actually one that just graduated 2016, and I feel that we need to support not only our students, but support our educators that are out there, that, and we do that as a school district. But I think that would be the case. Safety has always been an issue for me, and I still think we should probably do that as well. But when I think of how things are changing in our society, when it comes to social media, when it comes to mental healthness, I think that should be important too.
Thank you. Now, we'll change gears here a little bit. What would you do if elected to promote social and racial justice? And we'll give Roy Jageri the first crack at that one.
Okay, and I would like to say on the first question, I think it's important you say Brentwood. You know, we can encompass Oakley too. So I think you need to, when you rephrase that question, is Brentwood and Oakley.
Okay.
Okay, and
Oh, I'm
also
sorry.
the neighboring districts,
Yeah.
we covered Knights and Byron
Right.
and so on and so
Discovery
forth.
Bay.
Discovery Bay. So-
I apologize for my not knowing the area, but that's one of the charms of the League of Women Voters. We bring in someone who has no bias on any candidate.
Yeah.
I don't know the candidates, and that just shows I don't know the issues either. So I apologize for not saying the right,
Not a problem,
right
not a
geography.
problem. And I'm sorry, the question was, again,
If you're elected or re-elected, what would you do to promote social and racial justice in the schools?
Well, actually, that's up my alley. I set up a student climate committee when I was at Liberty High School District, and I had students with poor grades, good grades, high academic achievements, all in one room. And what we worked on is listening to each other in regards to some of the things that they're facing. And it was wonderful. It's currently running at each of the comprehensive sites right now. Jesse Gossett runs that for us. And I'm proud, very proud that I was the first one to put that together. We meet, I think it's once every month, and the students bring in what's going on campus, some of the social injustices or whatever there might be going on. So that's one of the things that we do.
Thank you. And Ms. Allred?
I would think that you would want to have, I know we have right now a lot of the, more of the mental health services that are provided for the schools, that we govern all 5 schools. That really helps a lot. I think also that parents need to get involved. I know in high school that it's not really possible, or some families feel that I shouldn't be involved. This is the time they really need the help. So with that support, I know with a lot of the principal sites, they have coffee time. They have just to kind of interact with the parents. They also have other groups in the schools that would help for their own culture, climate. So those are the things I think that, you know, listening to your child, even though they're in high school, they are needed as well.
Thank you. And Eric Stonebarger.
First, I'd like to congratulate Roy. I think Roy was the administrator at Liberty when there was an incident quite a few years ago, and there was a pretty strong response from the administration in order to help support the diversity concept. Right? And I think a lot of it has to do with education. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the kids get the stereotypes that follow down from their parents. Or the societies or the subcultures that they're in. So I think a lot of it has to do with education, an open mind, and an encouragement to listen to other people. Again, that social media is a pretty challenging platform, and I think we need to focus on educating these kids to be open to the diverse culture that they're going to be around, whether it's in this high school or whether it's in college or whether it's in society in general as they move forward.
Thank you. Now, charter schools are in the news quite a bit. Is there a place in your district for charter schools? And we'll start with Mrs. Allred.
I feel that as a governor, governing a board member, that we only focus on public schools. It should be public schools. I think, you know, with over, like I said, 6 million students that we have in our district, you know, we're one of the largest ones in our, we have over 1,000 districts, which is 6 million students. So 6,000 around there. So I feel that it would be more important just to focus on the public schools.
Okay. Eric Stonebarger.
Not opposed to a charter school. I think they'd have to make a pretty strong argument to come in and how they're going to benefit the community and how they're not going to sacrifice some of the institutions that are already here. But if there's a benefit and everybody's going to benefit equally from it, then I think I'm open to listening to the conversation if that's what's going to come forward. I don't have any preconceived ideas one way or the other.
And Mr. Gagari.
I really don't have much more to add than what they've talked about. I think listen and see if it makes any sense, and then go from there.
So you have not had a charter school application in your district to date?
Not at the high school level to date.
Okay.
And I'm sure there might be some, and we'll be learning more about that.
Okay. Now let's switch to the financial health of the district. So looking in your crystal ball, what is your financial forecast for the Liberty Union High School District? So we'll start with Eric Stonebarger.
I think there's a $93 million budget, and so it's a big number to serve 8,200 kids and the staff that goes along with that. All schools are challenged. I think Liberty is in the 5th from the bottom of funding per student. Whether you agree with additional funding or don't agree with additional funding, it is 5th from the bottom of per student funding. So I think there needs to be at least some conversation on some type of equity component or additional revenue, wherever that conversation leads. But I think the previous school boards have done a very good job of sustaining where they are with that limited funding, and I'll just say limited because it's so close to the bottom. and to work through a recession that we worked through in one of the fastest growing regions in the last 20 years, and to maintain where it is. There's going to be some challenges as we move forward, there's no doubt, but it's not something that can't be overcome.
Thank you. Mrs. Allred?
I really think that this day and age right now, we are looking towards, our educators get paid very well in our school, but we have to be very careful how we use our money and how we set our goals by the LCAP. So we give information to the public so we know where the money's going. So we just have to be very careful. I mean, and I think California is not really what Mr. Stonebarger said, we're right there below. So I would prefer that, we do really well with our students and we do with our educators as well, so.
Thank you. And Mr. Gagari?
Yeah, obviously the budget is what runs things. It's a shame that this state, and I think we should all be not pleased in the funding for students. That is absolutely ridiculous, one of the richest states around. And we need to get going in that so that we can provide. It's usually this. It's usually the fact is this. They put more things that you have to do. Unfortunately, no money goes with that. So you have to do these things that are required, but there's no money to do those things, so we always are grabbing from what we can do. So I'm very proud of this district. We always have over 3% in savings. I think we're up to 13 in regards to that this year. So that's where it lies, kind of.
Thank you. Do you see in the future needing to go to voters for a parcel tax? We'll start with you, Mr. Gagari.
Again, that maybe down the road, that needs to be looked at. But I do need to say that I do believe something needs to be done. And if the parcel tax helps in any way, it's again, you're putting that on the people again. I'd rather see it go maybe through something else in regards, hopefully, maybe from the feds getting some extra money to run some of the programs that we run.
Mr. Stonebarger, do you think you'll have to go to voters for a parcel tax for more income?
The future's a long ways away, depending on how you're going to define it. In the near future, it doesn't seem like it. In the mid-future, depends how the next board runs it. In the long future, something's probably going to have to be done. If it's going to be fifth from the bottom in funding per person, and this district's going to grow at the rate that it's continuing to grow, whether it's in Oakley, or whether it's in Brentwood, or whether it's in Discovery Bay or Bethel Island, there is some challenges that go with it when you're structurally set to be underfunded at the onset, similar to the fire district. And if the district continues to age, then there'll be a little bit of relief at some point. However, it's a suburban area. It's typically attractive to young families that bring out their kids. It has a good elementary school district and a good high school district, so it's going to continue to be a challenge. However, in the near future, a parcel tax is unlikely.
Thank you. And Pauline Allred, what do you think?
I would probably, they pretty much said everything, pretty much. In a nutshell, I like to say, it's hard to say what's going to happen. I mean, we do kind of project what's going to happen, what we want to have in our funding for the 3 years. 6 years, 8 years, 9 years, it's really hard to say. But, as we look in our city Brentwood, but not only that, we're governing the Knightson and in Discovery Bay and Oakley. It's going to be a lot more other families, which means we have more kids coming in our area. So I would be, that would be nice to have that funding, especially for education. When you think of the students that are looking into after high school, whether they go in technology or they go into any type of college. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have a question that's in the category of safety. We're worried about response times for the East Contra Costa Fire Protection District, which brings emergency personnel when you call. So that the response times are long out here. Do you believe that the students and employees of the district are safe on school property, and what would you do to make them more safe? So we'll start with Mr. Gagari.
Obviously, you can always improve. You can always improve, and that's why it's a continual subject at the school board meetings in regards. That's why we work so closely with the cities, and they've been wonderful. Oakley and Brentwood, they have been right with us in making our partnership very close in concerns inside our campus and outside the campus. We will continue to monitor that. We will continue. I'm very proud of where we're at today. Are we going to hopefully be better? I sure hope so, and I hope it gets better down the road. But yeah, safety is a very big issue today.
Thank you. Mrs. Allred?
Safety, as I echo Mr. Jagari, it is a big issue. And a couple months ago, we had a symposium with our neighboring school district, Brentwood Unified School District. And we had not only the chief of police there, we had other superintendents, such as with Mr. Volta, Mr. Dana Eaton as well, Dr. Dana Eaton. And we spoke about all the things that we are already in placing. We have trained a lot of the teachers and the administrators. We've pretty much, the kids have had training as well in the schools. I feel really, really comfortable with the SROs that we have in place of all the schools. It's nice that these kids know better, as well as the parents were also educated as well about what not to do.
Thank you. And Mr. Stonebarger?
Fortunately, the 3 high schools are located within the city limits of either Brentwood or Oakley, and both police departments have a fairly strong response time. So that's the benefit. The benefit is if there's something going fairly well bad, the good guys with the guns are going to be there a lot quicker. The negative is our fire district is severely stressed. I happen to sit on the fire board also as an appointed position, and it has 3 stations to try to cover 250 square miles and 100,000, 115,000 residents, which is basically the similar size as our school district here. So that one is severely underfunded, and those response times are completely inadequate. However, there's a touch of comfort that both police departments have pretty strong staffing levels with a pretty strong budget protection in place with the city councils of both communities to allow us to help protect it. And I think the SRO programs have been absolutely vital to keep the campuses safe.
Thank you. Now, test scores are in the news. There was an article in the paper just this morning about state test scores. What should the district be doing to raise student test scores? So we'll start with Mrs. Allred.
Right now, we are, I know recently the teachers have been trained as far as increasing and looking at the ones that have low scores to see what we can do to bring those % up. As far as them not doing well with the scores, I know as far as them being trained, as far as not only the ones that are not doing well, but the % you're talking about, is that a graduation % or just in general?
Just in general,
Yeah.
test scores are always a hot topic.
Yeah, and I think it will be, and I think these teachers, the ones that are looking at students as low grades, they look at to see what they can increase of how well they could improve their grades.
Thank you. Mr. Stonebarger?
I think you have to continue to identify the ones that have that challenge to get to that next level, whether it's test scores or whether it's their GPA or whether it's their performance in general. Extracurricular activities have a lot to do with the positive elements of it, and I think the more extracurricular activities that you can identify and fund, so you have that support level for those kids, I think the better off they're going to do as a balanced person. And if they're a better balanced person, they're going to improve on their test scores. Just trying to target test scores to improve test scores, I think is a short-term positive gain. If it turns out to be a positive gain, I think we have to look at the kids and try to improve their life. And if we can make steps to improve their life, whether it's at home or whether it's at school, whether it's support emotionally or whether it's academically, I think we will continue to see test scores increase.
Thank you. Mr. Jageri?
On the board, we're constantly getting scores. And I'll be right up front. There are times that we're not pleased. But I will say something about this district, the Liberty High School District. If we're not pleased, immediately there are avenues, or we take a look at ways that we can connect with the student and get those scores higher. If you study our scores, they've gone up, and they have gone up over the years. So we will continue working on that. And I really, really appreciate the administrators and the counselors and everyone else that take this very seriously. So the scores are not an end-all, but yet it's an important thing that certainly the public looks at.
Thank you very much. And Mrs. Allred?
Oh, did I answer
And
that?
she went first.
Oh, you were
Yeah,
first.
I'm sure, but I could, okay. Okay.
Did I ask?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
did.
Okay, we've done it. All right. Now, for our final question, this is something that I'm always interested in, is why are you running for school board? So, Mr. Steenberger?
Pretty simple, try to make a better community. It doesn't get much different than that. I have a freshman at Liberty High School. My grandfather went to Liberty High School. My father went to Liberty High School. I did not go. We moved out of town for a few years, but had the joy of coming back. But just try to make a better community and try to make sure kids have as many opportunities as they can to get going in the right direction. It doesn't take much at this stage in their life to stub their toes a couple times and really sacrifice some opportunities that they might have in 4 years.
Thank you. Mr. Gigeri?
Similar to Eric, lived all my life here. I believe the teachers that I had, the administrators that I had, allowed me to go to college and receive a scholarship in basketball, the coaches that I dealt with. So my love for this community, I wanted to come back and give back. And I gave back for 36 years in the school system. And I retired. People said, well, don't you want to get away from it? And no, I want to stay involved because I love this community and I want to do everything to make this the best school district around.
Thank you. And Mrs. Allred?
I ran 4 years ago by a former board member by the name of Holly Hartman. I was volunteering with Boy Scouts and school and everything else. I thought, well, maybe this would I can at least give a little of my time. And I work in education. I work with special ed. So I wanted to at least see what I can do to be part of that, the gift of education that it never stops. It just keeps on going and going. So that's why I wanted to run to be a board member. So I feel like, as I said before, it's the tip of the iceberg. And what a way to work for the school district that I am in right now, that my kids actually they go to as well. So it's a privilege for me to be where I'm at, and I thank everyone for that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Now, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and we'll go in reverse order of the opening statements. So Pauline Rivera Allred, you go first.
Well, as I said before, you know, I started 4 years ago not thinking of what I never knew what a board member was. I'm not sure if anyone knows what a board member does. You know, we're elected by you as the community to be part of this education process and governing not only as being an individual, but you're working with other close friends, as I call them now, that I've really enjoyed working with, Mr. Jageri and all the other ones that I've worked for in the past. You're not only the individual, like I said, you're working as a group. And not only that, you support the superintendent, you also will, the benefits of it is that you see these students graduate. I think that's probably the highlight for me as being a board member. When you see them up there of all the things that not only them graduating, whether it's La Paloma or Independence or Heritage or Liberty High School or Freedom High School, I really, really feel that this is something as a gift for me to be right there with them and shaking their hand, and that they get that certificate of they're done. And and then here they are going out to the real world of whether they go to college, or if they go into a trade school, or they go to a job. So I really enjoy that piece of being a board member. Other than that, I think that's all I could say as far as being a board member, and I hope to be one again. Like I said, 4 years is not enough to be a board member.
Thank you. Roy Gigeri.
Well, first of all, you know, I'm sitting up here with two individuals that I think are outstanding. So, you know, I have to tell you, sure, I want your vote, okay, but you can't go wrong with any of these two people individual because they both love this community. But I do want to just take this moment to thank everyone and just remind you that vote on November 4th, not on 7th, 6th. I have to say, if you do the 6th, we're in trouble. And all I can tell you, I will continue to advocate for the safety, the budget situation, and we will continue to try to bring the best educational programs. Technology is the big thing right now, and we're trying to do as much as we can to keep the students up to date. I think my experience as a teacher, coach, administrator for the district for 36 years has really allowed me to really have the experience of knowing what students, parents, staff, and community really want in our school, because we still have a lot of pride in this community, and we want the best school at district, and so do we. We want the same thing you do. And I'm a proud graduate of Liberty High School. I'm a proud graduate of my son and my daughter going through the school and graduating from college. And I hope you have the trust in me in regards to your vote. So thank you very much, and thank you very much this evening.
Thank you. And our final speaker is Eric Stonebarger.
And again, I'll echo what Roy had to say. I had the pleasure of meeting Pauline a few years ago when she started to run. I was on the city council at going through the Guerin campus. I've known Roy for 41 and 3/4 years since I was born. His sister is my aunt, married my dad's brother, so we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
And again, they've done a really, really good job running this district, and I'm proud of what they've done. And really, the reason that I got involved is because a board member that is, I think, probably the longest-serving board member of this district of over 30 years, Joanne, decided to retire. And I wanted to try to make an attempt to fill those shoes, even though there's never a place that you could fill them as big as a void that she would leave as a steady hand in this district for so many years. But I thought it would be a good opportunity to make an attempt to jump in the batter's box and take a swing at that pitch. Joanne's a dear friend of our families and a dear friend of mine, and I would like to follow her honor in being able to help guide the district and really try to make a better community. I think what we're trying to do up here is all the same. You're trying to keep a good, motivated workforce in the employees and make sure that they're engaged and they have a good quality of life. You're trying to make sure that the kids have every opportunity to be successful. Two vital components of success as they look back are going to be whether they have a GED, number one, our high school education, and whether they have a job. And I think we're trying to position them to make the right decisions now in these really small handful of years, not to make too many mistakes. Make the little mistakes, don't make the big mistakes. Get them educated, get them somewhat comfortable and as prepared as we can to let them take that next step. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the Contra Costa Libraries, the Elections Department, Contra Costa Television for co-sponsoring tonight's forum, and to thank all of you for your respectful attention. Be sure to vote on November 6th or earlier. So these are the 3 of the 4 candidates for Liberty Union High School District. They are, again, Eric Stonebarger, Roy Gigeri, Pauline Rivera Allred, and Brian Roger Lax was unable to be here this evening. So thank you very much. Let's give our candidates a hand.